Okay, today, let us face a truth we often avoid. Time is not infinite. Surrounded by endless scrolling, constant notifications, and the restless pursuit of productivity, we convince ourselves that there will always be more hours, more days. Yet, every moment slips away quietly, never to return, like sand falling through open hands. The question we must ask is simple. Are we living with intention, or allowing our lives to dissolve unnoticed? Welcome to Stoic Dhamma, a space where we pause to reflect on timeless wisdom and discover how it speaks to our modern challenges. In this video, we will explore the central theme of time and purpose. Why is time our most sacred possession? How does wasting it mean wasting life itself? And how can Stoic philosophy guide us to protect our attention, act with clarity, and live as better humans, not tomorrow, but today? Time is the most silent teacher you will ever encounter. It never announces itself, never asks for permission, and never waits for your readiness. The moment a second passes, it is gone forever, like a whisper carried away by the wind. This is why the Stoics described time not as something we own, but as something we briefly borrow. In modern life, it is easy to imagine time as infinite. Social media feeds never end. Work calendars stretch endlessly forward, and entertainment is available 24 hours a day. Yet beneath this illusion lies a truth. The number of days you and I have is shrinking, quietly and without pause. Seneca the Roman Stoic once reminded his students that people guard their houses with locks, protect their coins with iron chests, and build walls around their lands. Yet they allow their time, the most irreplaceable treasure, to be stolen without resistance. Imagine how different your days would feel if you treated each hour as more precious than gold. Would you still scatter them so freely on distractions, gossip, or endless digital noise? From here, we turn to the reality of mortality. Every culture in history has wrestled with the fleeting nature of existence. Ancient tombs, archaeological discoveries, and weathered ruins whisper the same message. Kingdoms rise, flourish, and fade into silence. What endures is not their wealth or monuments, but fragments of wisdom, teachings about how to live well before the final sunset arrives. Now picture your own life as a timeline carved into stone. You cannot see where the final mark will be drawn, but you can see the line shortening with each passing day. This truth is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to awaken you, to remind you that today, this very breath is the only moment that truly belongs to you. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, practiced this awareness daily. He would remind himself each morning that he might not see the evening. Instead of despairing, he used this thought to focus on justice, kindness, and duty. For him, the power of time lay not in quantity, but in the quality of each action taken. But there's another layer to this truth. When you waste time, you do not simply lose hours. You lose parts of yourself. You lose the chance to grow, to love, to forgive, to discover. The Stoics did not see wasted time as harmless leisure, but as a theft from your own soul, a theft committed silently and willingly. Think of the days when you feel drained after endless scrolling, or when your attention scatters across trivial arguments. At the end, you often sense a quiet emptiness. This is not just fatigue. It is the subtle recognition that you have traded something priceless for something hollow. The power of time lies in how it shapes who we are becoming. Each choice is a small investment in your future self. When you read a book, you become wiser. When you listen deeply, you become more compassionate. When you choose silence over gossip, you cultivate peace. Every moment counts toward the human being you are slowly creating. The Stoics believed that time could be transformed into virtue. Epictetus, once a slave, did not control the length of his days, but he controlled how he used them. He treated each hardship as material for his philosophy, turning suffering into strength and limitation into freedom. For him, wasting time meant wasting the chance to refine his character. If you pause here, consider your own daily patterns. How many hours dissolve into distraction? How often do you postpone the things that truly matter? telling someone you love them, pursuing a dream, or caring for your body and mind. When tomorrow is uncertain, postponement becomes the greatest illusion of all. Now imagine waking up with the thought that today is your last. Would you speak differently? Would you choose kindness over irritation, depth over shallowness, presence over absence? This is the exercise of memento mori, not a morbid fixation, but a compass pointing you back to what is essential. From this perspective, time becomes a sacred practice. It is not simply measured in clocks and calendars, but in the richness of experience, the depth of reflection, and the sincerity of action. To live with this awareness is to honor the life you have been given, however long or short it may be. When we treat time as sacred, ordinary moments transform. A conversation becomes an act of connection. A walk in the park becomes a meditation on beauty. Even the simple act of breathing can become a reminder that you are alive, here, in this fleeting instant. Such awareness turns life itself into a form of daily mindfulness. But remember, time's power is double-edged. It can elevate you toward wisdom, or it can dissolve into noise. The choice is always present, always unfolding. The Stoics challenge us to reclaim ownership of this choice, not through control of external events, but through mastery of how we spend our inner life. If today were indeed your last, how would you honor it? Would you rush, or would you slow down? Would you consume endlessly, or would you create something meaningful? The answer to these questions defines not only your day, but also the legacy of your existence. As you move forward, carry this awareness gently. You are not asked to live in fear of the clock, but to live in harmony with it. Time is not your enemy, but your companion, guiding you toward a deeper recognition of what matters most. To waste it is to close your eyes. To embrace it is to awaken fully. And so we arrive at the truth the Stoics left for us. Time is the canvas and you are the painter. The strokes you make today cannot be erased, but they can be chosen with care, with love, with wisdom. Each hour holds the power to transform not only your life, but the lives you touch. To understand why time mattered so deeply to the Stoics, we must first return to the world in which they lived. Stoicism was born in Athens during a time of political upheaval, later flourishing in the Roman Empire, where uncertainty was the rhythm of daily existence. Wars, plagues, and shifting empires reminded people that life was fragile, and tomorrow was never guaranteed. This backdrop created a philosophy not of abstraction, but of survival. Unlike distant theories, Stoicism offered practical wisdom to help individuals face chaos with clarity. It did not promise wealth or longevity, but it promised strength of spirit, teaching people to live with dignity, even when the world crumbled around them. Seneca, a Roman statesman, wrote during an age of corruption and intrigue. Surrounded by the excess of the imperial court, he saw how people squandered their hours in pursuit of vanity. His letters are filled with warnings that life feels short only because we waste so much of it, treating time as if it were renewable when it is not. He compared time to a flowing river. You cannot step into the same waters twice. Each instant moves past and cannot be retrieved. For Seneca, the wise person is one who learns to stand firm on the riverbank, fully present, fully aware, refusing to be carried away by distractions. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, lived with a burden few could comprehend. As ruler of Rome, he commanded armies and presided over a vast empire, yet his private writings reveal a man struggling to remain grounded. His meditations speak repeatedly of time's fleeting nature and the need to align every action with virtue. In the solitude of his tent during military campaigns, Marcus reflected that death could come at any moment. This was not despair, it was clarity. By contemplating impermanence, he sharpened his focus on justice, humility, and service. His life shows us that even at the height of power, the greatest victory is mastery over one's own mind. Epictetus, once born a slave, offers yet another perspective. He endured limitations most of us cannot imagine, yet he discovered freedom not in external conditions, but in how he spent his thoughts and hours. To him, Wasting time meant allowing circumstances to dictate his spirit, rather than shaping his character through deliberate practice. He taught his students that, while you cannot control how long you live, you can control how you live. Each moment is a choice, to complain or to accept, to indulge or to grow, to drift or to act. Time becomes meaningful only when directed toward what is within your power. From here, we turn to the heart of Stoic philosophy, the idea that time is life itself. To waste time is to waste your very being. To use time well is to align with nature, to cultivate wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline, the four virtues that define the Stoic path. Consider how these three figures, so different in station, shared the same lesson. Seneca, the advisor navigating corruption. Marcus, the emperor balancing duty and mortality. Epictetus, the freedman turning suffering into strength. Each carried the same torch. Time must not be squandered, for it is the only currency of life that cannot be replenished. Their wisdom transcends their era, because the human struggle remains the same. We may not live under Roman emperors, but we battle the empire of distraction every day. Endless screens, restless ambitions, and the fear of missing out. Just as they resisted the pull of decadence, we too are called to resist the pull of noise. But there's another layer to their insight. They saw that the true enemy is not external distraction, but internal negligence. It is not simply that life is short, but that we fail to notice its brevity. We imagine we have infinite tomorrows, and so we sleepwalk through today. Stoicism is the wake-up call. This is why Seneca urged his readers to rehearse death in their minds, not as despair, but as discipline. When you carry the awareness of mortality, suddenly priorities become clear. The trivial fades, the meaningful sharpens. Time is no longer wasted on pursuits that do not nourish the soul. Marcus Aurelius embodied this discipline by writing nightly reflections, a form of journaling that we still practice today. Each page was an attempt to capture the day's lessons, to remind himself not to drift. His habit demonstrates that wisdom is not born from brilliance alone, but from daily attention to the passing hours. Epictetus, through his dialogues, emphasized practice over theory. He taught that philosophy is not something to discuss in abstract, but something to embody every moment. For him, the use of time was the test of philosophy's value. If it did not transform your choices, it was merely empty words. From their combined voices emerges a timeless message. Wisdom begins with reverence for time. Without this foundation, knowledge becomes scattered, and virtue loses its grounding. To live well is to live as if each hour matters, because each hour does. Now imagine if you adopted this mindset. How would your day change if you woke each morning with Marcus's reminder of mortality, lived each hour with Seneca's urgency, and ended each evening with Epictetus's discipline? This triad of voices can become your guides, whispering across centuries to anchor you in the present. Through them, we discover that time is not only a measure of existence, but a mirror of our values. Where your hours go, there your heart is. To know yourself, look not at your intentions but at how you spend your days. The Stoics invite us to make this mirror clear and honest. And so, as we step back from history, we carry their wisdom forward. Time remains as fragile and fleeting as it was in Rome. The difference lies in whether we treat it as a burden or as a gift. To the Stoics, it was the soil in which virtue could grow, if only we chose to tend it. Philosophy without practice is like a map never unfolded. It may promise guidance, but unless you follow its directions, it changes nothing. The Stoics knew this well. Their wisdom was not meant for ivory towers, but for the messy reality of daily life. The real challenge is turning ideas into actions that shape who you are becoming. Time rarely disappears in grand losses, but in quiet, unnoticed habits. The idle scroll, the grudge you carry, the empty yes to meaningless tasks. Each feels small, almost harmless, yet together they consume what is most precious, your days grain by grain, until you wonder where the hours have gone. The practice of awareness begins with noticing. Imagine your attention as a lamp. When its light scatters, its power fades. When it focuses, it shines deeper and clearer. The Stoic path is to observe where the lamp is pointed and to reclaim the ability to guide it back toward what truly matters. In work, this means aligning tasks with values. Many chase productivity, mistaking busyness for achievement. But as Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, every action should serve the common good. Ask, does this task move me closer to my true purpose or merely fill the hours? In relationships, wasted time is even more painful, for once words are spoken or left unsaid, they cannot be retrieved. Seneca urged us to spend our days with those who uplift the spirit, not those who drain it. Every conversation becomes a choice, to nurture connection or to let it wither through neglect. On the level of the inner self, wasted time often hides in unexamined thoughts. Epictetus reminded us that while events are beyond our control, our judgments remain our own. When we brood over past insults, replay old arguments, or chase desires forever beyond our reach, we surrender hours to illusions. The practice, then, is simple yet profound. Pause, breathe, and return attention to what is truly within your power. But awareness alone is fragile without structure. The Stoics understood this and built habits to anchor their days. They did not wait for bursts of inspiration. They practiced journaling, often at dawn or dusk, turning reflection into a steady rhythm. On the page, they recorded lessons, examined failures, and set intentions. The act of writing became a mirror, ensuring that time did not slip away unnoticed. Another discipline was memento mori, the remembrance of death. Though it may sound somber, it awakens clarity. When you recall life's fragility, trivial irritations dissolve. What remains is the will to live authentically, to speak truth, and to spend time where it matters most. Marcus Aurelius himself began each morning rehearsing life's challenges. By preparing his mind, he transformed uncertainty into readiness. So too can you treat each new day not as endless hours to consume, but as a sacred gift to be used with care. Evening reflections completed the circle. Seneca advised reviewing the day as if standing before a judge, asking what was done well, what was wasted, and what could be improved. This is not punishment, but refinement. Each night becomes a chance to reclaim time through honest awareness, ensuring tomorrow carries fewer regrets. Think of these practices not as burdens, but as quiet companions. They require little more than a notebook, a moment of stillness, or a few breaths of intention. Yet their effect is profound. Over weeks and months, they turn scattered days into purposeful living, weaving time into a fabric of meaning. Now imagine how these habits begin to ripple outward into every corner of life. A person who treasures time in work becomes steady, reliable, and deeply focused. A person who treasures time in relationships learns to be present, listening with patience instead of rushing. A person who treasures time within the self grows disciplined, calm, and quietly strong. This is how Stoic practice leaves the realm of theory and becomes action, through the quiet accumulation of mindful choices. Yet beware, modern culture whispers a different story. Endless entertainment, shallow arguments, and the cult of urgency conspire to steal your hours. To resist this pull is not effortless. It demands courage to decline, wisdom to choose, and discipline to return again and again to what truly matters. This is what Stoic courage looks like in practice. From here, pause and ask yourself one essential question. What is truly worthy of your hours? Every yes you give to one choice is, silently, a no to another. When you begin to see time as sacred, each decision carries a heavier weight. A wasted afternoon is no longer harmless, it becomes the quiet surrender of life itself to something unworthy. Now picture a gentler rhythm. The morning opens with a single breath, not rushed, but mindful. You remember mortality, not with dread, but with gratitude. This awareness moves with you into work, guiding you toward depth rather than distraction. It shapes your words with loved ones, spoken as if each one could be the last. And when night arrives, reflection gathers the lessons of the day, transforming even mistakes into teachers. Such a life is not rigid or joyless. It is alive with presence. The Stoics never sought perfection, only progress. Each day a chance to waste less and to live more. With this shift, Stoic philosophy becomes daily mindfulness. Joy is chosen consciously, rest embraced with intention, and even leisure turns restorative rather than wasteful. The path from ideas to actions grows clear. Notice the thieves of time. Anchor yourself in ritual, align tasks with values, honor relationships with presence, and cultivate discipline within. In doing so, your hours become steps, and your steps become a journey worthy of life itself. When the Stoics urge us not to waste time, they are not demanding constant achievement. They are inviting us to live fully awake, with eyes open to the gift of each moment. To follow their path is to build a life where action and reflection meet, where time is no longer lost, but found. The wisdom of the Stoics is not a relic locked in dusty texts. It is alive, waiting to be practiced in the way you answer emails, share meals, or sit quietly with your own thoughts. Lessons about time are not meant for philosophers alone. They are meant for anyone who wishes to live more deeply, right here, right now. Time, after all, is the thread weaving every human story together. Whether in ancient Rome or in the digital age, its passage is constant. What differs is how we choose to meet it. The Stoics teach us that life does not demand perfection, only presence. To waste time is to abandon presence. To use it well is to enter fully into the fabric of existence. Modern examples reveal the same truth. Consider athletes who dedicate years to disciplined practice, artists who rise early to pursue their craft, or scientists who spend quiet nights unraveling mysteries of the universe. Their success is not built on talent alone, but on a reverence for time, treating each hour as a sacred investment. Think of figures like Viktor Frankl, who in the midst of unimaginable suffering found meaning by holding fast to purpose. His story echoes the Stoics. When everything external is stripped away, the way you spend your inner time becomes your true freedom. Such lives remind us that Stoic lessons are not abstract, but profoundly practical. Now imagine how these lessons unfold in daily modern life. You do not need to rule an empire like Marcus Aurelius or endure slavery like Epictetus. You only need to look at your schedule. Where are your hours going? Are they serving growth, love, and service? Or are they dissolving into distractions that leave you emptier than before? Technology, while powerful, often magnifies the temptation to waste time. Infinite feeds and endless updates can fragment your attention. But here lies the chance to practice discipline. Each time you set the phone down to read, reflect, or simply breathe, you reclaim a piece of your life. In a culture of noise, stillness becomes revolutionary. From here we turn to relationships, the heart of human existence. Time spent with another is a sacred exchange. Seneca's reminder rings louder today. Spend your hours with those who uplift you. Modern life often prioritizes networking or shallow connection, but true friendship built on presence and honesty transforms time into joy. Imagine sitting across from someone you love, listening without rushing, without glancing at a screen. That moment becomes timeless. No wealth or possession can replace the richness of such presence. The Stoics would say this is how virtue meets reality, not in grand speeches, but in the quiet dignity of everyday encounters. But there's another layer we must confront, the myth of endless tomorrows. Many postpone their deepest dreams, waiting for a better season, more security, or greater courage. Yet Marcus Aurelius warned against delay, for life is slipping away even as you plan. The lesson is clear. Begin now, however small the first step may be. In practice, this might mean setting aside 10 minutes to write, to walk, to pray, or to call a friend. It might mean choosing honesty in a conversation you have long avoided. Each small act transforms time from something spent to something lived. This is where philosophy becomes flesh, where wisdom moves through your hands and voice. Consider also the way time relates to failure. Modern culture often frames failure as wasted effort, yet the Stoics saw it differently. To them, the only true waste was to avoid trying, to let fear steal your hours. Every misstep, if reflected upon, becomes a teacher. In this way, even mistakes are woven into the fabric of growth. This lesson carries into success as well. True success is not measured only by what you accumulate, but by who you become. Wealth, recognition, or achievement lose meaning if they cost you presence, integrity, or joy. To live well, then, is to let your use of time reflect your highest values, not society's shallow measures. From here, imagine a life reordered around this awareness. Mornings begin not with hurried distraction, but with a moment of gratitude. Work is approached not as endless labor, but as service aligned with purpose. Evenings close with reflection, a chance to gather lessons and release regrets. Over time, this rhythm reshapes the arc of a life. In truth, lessons for modern life echo the same refrain. Time is precious. Whether through journaling, mindfulness, or simple presence, the call is the same. Do not waste it. These are not rigid demands, but gentle invitations, offering a way to live more awake in a world that constantly pulls you toward sleep. And so we find that Stoic practice is not about denial, but about fullness. It asks you to live so that when the final moment comes, you can say you have truly inhabited your days. The measure is not how long you lived, but how deeply, how wisely, and how lovingly you walk the path. Each of us carries this choice: to drift through time as if it were infinite, or to hold it with reverence, shaping our lives with intention. The Stoics cannot make this choice for you, nor can modern mentors. But their voices, ancient and contemporary, can remind you that your life is happening now, in this very breath. This is why the journey has no endpoint. The practice of honoring time is not a destination you reach, but a path you continue, day by day. Each sunrise offers a chance to begin again, to waste less, to live more. Each sunset reminds you that even endings can be sacred when the hours are well spent. And so the lesson of modern life merges with the wisdom of the ancients. Embrace the fleeting nature of time, not with fear, but with gratitude. Let it shape your choices, guide your priorities, and illuminate your relationships. In doing so, you transform ordinary days into a life of meaning, depth, and quiet strength. Do not waste time, for time is life itself. The Stoics remind us that every moment is a chance to choose wisdom over distraction, presence over neglect, love over indifference. Your days are not guaranteed, yet they are filled with possibility. To honor them is to honor your own existence. Here at Stoic Dhamma, we invite you to carry this reflection forward. Let today be the day you become a better version of yourself. Not tomorrow, not someday, today. If these ideas have spoken to you, consider subscribing, sharing this video, or leaving a comment about how you will practice Stoic philosophy in your own life. And stay close for our next exploration, transforming karma through daily Stoic practice for a better life.
References: 1. Aurelius, M. 2006. Meditations, M. Hammond, trans. Penguin Classics. Point 2. Epictetus. 2008. The Discourses, R. Dobbin, trans. Penguin Books. Point 3. Seneca. 2004. On the Shortness of Life, C. Deepen Costa, trans. Penguin Classics.